Uh, I think the Gospel of St. John is one of the most beautiful Gospels of all. We have the Synoptics, which is so separated from the Gospel of John. The Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, somehow the same. They have similar stories that if you find a story if you find a story in Matthew, you would possibly find it in Luke and then in Mark. If you find stories in Mark, you will find them also in Luke and Matthew. So that's why they are called synoptic gospels, because they have some synopsis. There are things that are similar to them. And you find some similar stories also in the Gospel of John, but then they are not put in the same way. When you talk about John, is symbolized by an eagle. You always find, if there is a picture of John, you would find an eagle next to him. It's because he had an eagle view of everything. The eagle is something that sees something, a bird that sees things that nobody can see. It can spot from a very far distance a prey, and then it goes for it. Okay? So, for instance, it can be at a very, very far height, and then it can spot it. Excuse me. It can spot even a fish that no fisherman can see. So it can spot things from very far distances, and could see things that no one can see. And John is associated with an eagle because he got to see what the disciples, the other apostles, could not see. And how is this expressed in this gospel of today? When the women went to the tomb, they did not find the body of Jesus. They found an empty tomb. And their conclusion was that the body of Jesus had been stolen. And that was the possible thing. That is what even all the Greeks, the Jews believed. Even the people who were opposing Jesus, they also tried to make up that story, that the body had been stolen by the apostles. So when Mary Magdalene went to the tomb, you remember, they have taken my Lord, and I do not know where they have put him. And we hear Mary Magdalene goes and reports that to Peter and the unknown disciple. Now, John always identifies himself in his gospel as the unknown disciple, but also the disciple that Jesus loved. Disciple that Jesus loved. If you go through the Gospel of John, you would find that the disciple that Jesus loved. And when they went to them, when Mary of Magdala went to Peter and John, they said John went ahead of Peter. Very symbolic also, that he was in a haste to meet Jesus. But when he arrived, he did not enter the tomb, because he's very reflective. He's not rushing into things. He wants to digest everything. He does not just want to rush into conclusions. So he stops by the tomb, but he does not enter. Peter enters, he looks here and looks there, and somehow he comes to the conclusion that yes, the body of Jesus had been stolen. See, just notice the way the gospel today ends. He says that the other disciple who had reached the tomb first also went in. And then he says, he saw and he believed. He did not just see and say his body has been stolen. He saw and he thought of everything that he had encountered in Jesus. He remembered that Jesus had promised that he would rise on the third day. He saw and he believed, because he had been with Jesus right all through. Remember the disciple who was leaning on Jesus' chest, that was John. The disciple who was with Mary right up to the foot of the cross, that was John. The disciple whom Jesus told Peter, when Peter was asking Jesus, what about this other disciple? It was John. And it was only John, the only apostle who died naturally. So it's only the apostle, one of the 12, whose feast day will be celebrated with the priest wearing white and with the altar decorated white. The others would always be red, because they died, they were martyred. John died a white martyrdom. So John teaches us one thing, that we should never seek to leave the presence of Jesus. He followed Jesus, like I said, is like the male version of Mary. He kept everything in his heart, and he never at one point abandoned Jesus, right up to the foot of the cross. That's why he's the only one who recorded Jesus handing his mother to him and him to his mother. He's the only apostle who does not have the Last Supper in his gospel. You find that in all the other gospels. You not find it in John's gospel. We find the washing of the feet. That's what's so different about. It's so different in many ways, and his gospel is so beautiful because it's made of deep insight and things that we could relate with so easily. So we continue to ask the intercession of St. John, first of all, that we'll be inspired to read the Word of God because he wrote it for us, but also that we may be gifted with the gift of faith, that God may grace us with a faith never to abandon Jesus, knowing that he is everything that we need in this life. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Without him, we can do nothing.